Welcome to the Inner Athlete Podcast, where we discuss all things youth athlete development and youth mentoring.
Nic, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, podcast 2. Wow, that was, yeah.
Yeah, that was a trip. How was the World Cup? No, he hasn't left yet. You won?
And we're in the same stuff, but yes, we won.
Yeah. Cool. It's nice. You went forward in time, then came back in time.
That's it.
Then you know that you won. All right, perfect. Yeah, we're just doing a quick follow-up because I think you've got an important message to share with a lot of youth athletes.
I think it's important because I know I have dealt with it. I believe you have, and I'm sure Dave has.
To some extent, yeah.
Yeah, to some extent, and it's not something that is sort of, in my experience, been addressed and been able to, I guess, maneuver around and be able to put the pieces together to overcome it. I think it's important because it may be a reason why someone doesn't pursue something, and if they enjoy it, then them not pursuing something is a disservice to themselves, because if they get enjoyment out of it, then that's all you can really ask for when you want to take on a new venture, whether it be sport related or business related. I think that's important to be able to know that there is ways to overcome it.
No, I agree. So, I know you've written some points down. What do you want to share with us?
Well, going off the prompts, I guess what young athletes can learn from my experience, whether or not they take that on board or not, just know that I guess the journey that you're on, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but the journey you're on is definitely the destination. Being on that journey and gaining the skills and the knowledge to be able to get where you want to get to is half, if not more, part of the journey. And I guess when you look back on it, being able to pick up the pieces that you have and the knowledge and the skills, and not only the external skills of, but it's the internal skills, understanding yourself and how you operate, and the ways in which you can get the best out of yourself, has been a big. It's had a big impact on my life, because I know that what I pick up along the way has gotten me to some extent to where I am today. So just knowing that, the destination, the journey is the destination.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. And I know we briefly talked about in the other podcast is, I guess, your support network as well. You've had a really solid support network around you.
Yes, I have, and that's to family, my partner, and then friends and quote unquote family friends. So I'll shout everyone out. The Smiths, Leanne Smith, Adrian Smith, and Jack and Kate, they were very welcoming in my first tenure up in Queensland, housing me throughout lockdown, and being really accommodating, and knowing that they're doing it from, I was their third son almost. They're doing it from, from a compassionate place, and I'm forever in debt to them. So I will be, this is on record, I will be not donating, but I'll be giving you one of my Greek jerseys. I'll be framing it, and that's going in the Smiths' house. And then obviously my parents, my mother and Sandra, and my dad Dennis, they were forever grateful for their support, as any someone who's moved up and gotten all their support of that's been a big part of why I've stayed up there. And then my beautiful partner Elizabeth, she's, as you say, everyone's rock, their partner by their side. So those are the real support network that I lean on when I need to. And then they've really kept me level-headed, and keep me on this path to be able to pursue a career.
Nice. And I guess, what are the main lessons what are two key things that a lot of youth athletes could take from your experiences?
First of all, the one that's very dry and probably may not sit too well, that it takes a lot of time, full stop.
It probably takes more time than you always think.
More time than you always think. However, when you get there, things sort of happen at the right sort of time, so things happen for you over a consistent period, like if you put in the work over a consistent period of time, and that word consistency is, prominent in anything that you want to get done in life. Putting in the work over a consistent period of time is just a fact about how to get from A to B, or for some people it's A to Z, and Z might be, their biggest goal or anything like that. So number one is putting in the work consistently over an extended period of time, and two, investing in yourself. I know you've spoken a lot about that, and I have taken that with both hands, and hence why we have this relationship where I've invested in myself. And I guess it's important to note that invest in yourself with someone who shares the same values and wants the best for you, and that's you and yourself, Dave. So those are two, I guess, just off the top, but I can't stress the first one enough.
Yeah, that's good. And I think this is, everyone, what's one piece of advice that you wish you heard? What's one piece of advice that you wish you heard sooner? That you should have followed through with. So something that you've applied, but wish you heard, maybe 6 or 12 months beforehand.
Not to attribute all of who I am to what I do. And that is, I do play rugby league, but that's not who I am. I am a son, I am a brother, I'm a partner. So not attributing all of who I am to what I do. So Cooper Cronk, I heard, said it once, he plays rugby league, he's a rugby league player, but it's 10% of what he does, and he puts 100% into that. So I like to stem from that, because I do hear what he says. Obviously I haven't reached the heights he has, but however, it still applies to anyone, and I'm sure you can attest to that as well. The fact that if you attribute your self-worth to your performance on the field, then I don't see that being a very sustainable way to think. And I'm sure we're all guilty of that. However, that is some sound advice that I received, and still apply that in anything I do, whether it be where I work, or playing football. That is, I do attest to that, not attributing all of my self-worth to what I do, because it doesn't marry up.
And I know that you not suffered from confidence issues as such, but how have you dealt with fluctuations in your confidence throughout your career? As we spoke about before, not everyone, but majority of people have come across the imposter syndrome, and it was only this year that my current coach, Ben Cross, the idea that competence breeds confidence. So being competent, this was very rugby league specific, where we were talking about tackling technique and all that sort of stuff, and I'll use it as an example. If you're competent in carrying out that skill on the training paddock and being able to do that, at a high level on a consistent basis, then when 40 tackles a game, something like that.
When you get to the big stage, you're that competence in doing
that work will breed confidence going to the field. Now, I'm sure that doesn't happen most of the time, but you're giving yourself the opportunity to take confidence from that and use that on the field, which is a big part of how momentum works on the field, I believe. So that's how I've battled with it. I liked how you said I haven't suffered with it, because I don't believe that it's not an overarching hindrance in what I do day to day. However, those thoughts do creep in because you look around and you think, oh, there's people here who do this better than I do this, do that better than I've done before and stuff. So the fact that there are specific steps to take to be able to mitigate those feelings, which is, as I said, putting in the work on the training field, that competence breeds confidence. And when I first heard that, it clicked for me. And not to say that I didn't experience those feelings before. After that, it did help. It did take me it got me a long way to mitigating those and shutting off the outside noise to be able to perform on the big stage, which is game day.
Yeah, and on game day, if you're most athletes will have some level of anxiety hitting the pitch as well. So butterflies may not eat the normal, feel a bit white and pale and all that jazz, and they just kind of feel anxious as they hit the paddock. But if they know that they've done the work behind the scenes and they've tested it out behind the scenes, and then when it goes to the big stage, as you mentioned, they're going to be able to carry that through to the actual game itself. Does that always work? No, unfortunately, there's always going to be unforeseen things, but you can always take lessons from that of what those unforeseen things are. Make sure that you address those behind the scenes, and when you get in front of everyone else, then it should be fine and smooth sailing. Yeah,
correct. And I had a really good support network there to be able to voice how I was feeling before games. One thing, I remember the term doesn't sound, it can be taken out of context, but I used to get very under-aroused before a game, just feeling very down and not down on my self-confidence, just like, I guess...
flat?
Just very flat, and that's where I toyed with caffeine timings and all that sort of stuff, and I think it was just stemmed from maybe a lack of confidence. So having put those things in place where, as I said before, confidence breeds the confidence, those feelings did mitigate, and I was getting those good nerves before a game and wanting to be out there with, not to say that before I didn't want to be out there, but I was more quote-unquote G'd up for a game.
Nice. Oh, I'm glad you overcame that. And you're here now because you've been able to do the work on yourself.
Yeah. I like what you said there about confidence breeds confidence, but it's almost like the other way around as well, because if you're confident, it'll drive competent action. So if you're nervous or not confident going to a tackle, there's a higher chance of you stuffing it up. Same thing, taking a hit up close to the line. If you're not confident, you might knock it on, but if you're confident you're going to catch the ball, it's going to land the hands the right way. So vice versa.
Yeah, I think it just manifests into each other.
Yeah.
It kind of backwards and forwards between the two.
If you're confident, you'll be confident, and then if you are confident, you'll show competent actions.
Yeah, you'll be more confident, then obviously they'll feed into confidence. Cool. Anything else?
I got a couple of questions for you, but if you want to go.
Please.
Two sort of questions closely linked to each other. Say if you're walking into an elevator and there's 13, 14, 15-year-old Nick, you have 60 seconds to say to him something you want to say. What would you say?
Time starts now.
60 seconds.
Boop. I would start with and then firstly tell him to just enjoy what's ahead, because I hear people say it all the time, it's not going to last very long, and I can attest to that. I've only been on this planet for not very long, 23 years, but just enjoy the process and know that nothing's going to happen overnight, and that might be daunting for a teenager to hear. However, I guess with the right support network and head on his shoulders, he'll be able to take that for what it is and make it his own. Knowing me, I would have taken that advice and, as I said just then, made it my own. However, that's a very prompting question, and it does make you think. I guess all those philosophical sort of ideas that it takes time and just to enjoy it, I think underpins, I guess, the message I would tell to my younger self.
Cool. All right.
You have just listened to the Inner Athlete podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with the release of weekly episodes. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram to get great tips on all things youth athlete development and youth mentoring.